All right. Thank you for joining us for another broadcast. I am excited today. I got my friend back with us, and we are going to be talking about something that I think is very, very significant to all people, all children, all
Hmm.
male and female. But particularly, we're going to just talk about the female and the role that a father plays. Because it's funny how I lost my dad. You lost yours, right?
Yep.
And we are, I don't know what's the age gap between us, but it doesn't matter because it just doesn't matter because when you lose your dad, it's just something it does to the little girl,
Yes. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and you carry that thing throughout your life. And
Hmm.
sometimes you think that you've healed from it, you've gotten um over it, but then it comes up in
Hmm.
relationships
Yeah.
and things that you do with your life and how you conduct yourself. And it's like, man, I
Mm.
really am in need of healing this thing that is hindering me. So I wanted us
Yeah.
to get um,
Yeah.
into it, and I know you touch a bit on it in your book. If you have not went to go get my friend's book, let me tell
Woohoo!
y'all.
Go and
Let me
get the
tell
book.
you.
Go and get the book.
There it is. Look how beautiful it is. That cover is just absolutely beautiful. Mine is on the way. So
Oh,
I'm
is it? Oh,
excited. Yes, so I'm
awesome.
excited. I'm excited
Oh,
about it because when I was reading the reviews and things, and it talks about how, because you told us that it has activities and all that in it. So I'm like, okay, here we go. So
yeah.
I'm excited. I'm excited. So
Cool.
if you have
You
not, go
get
to
some
Amazon.
freebies. You sorry to interrupt you, and you
No,
get
you're
some
fine.
freebies as well. So when you buy the book, within the book, there's a link to my website, and you get all sorts of other little sneaky goodies in the secret garden. So,
Yeah, yeah. So
so
I'm excited. And
yeah,
then
beautiful.
go to the website, you get one with her autograph. If you go to Amazon, you can just order it. If you're a Prime member like me, it will come sooner. So
Ooh,
I'm excited. So we're
beautiful.
gonna go ahead and go ahead and jump right on in. So you tell me what you think about it, because we talked a little bit about it last week off camera. And and we talked about the masculinity side that kind of gets suppressed, and how important, because a lot of times people don't understand that, in the beginning when God created Adam, he said, I created male and female.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's and yes, and I think if I'm coming at the healing of my inner masculine from that perspective of I am both male and female, as are you, both male and female, and as my beautiful husband is male and female.
Mhm,
And your Bible quote there is absolutely spot on, that we are made male and female, masculine and feminine.
mhm.
And I think, I mean, just recap, because you and I, as I say, we talked off camera and we went, oh, we need
Yeah,
to talk about this. We need to bring this. This is such beautiful medicine. How old were you, Brianna, when you lost your dad?
I was 10.
10. That was the point. That was the I was also 10. And
Hmm.
so, we're talking about a time in a little girl's life where you are about to embark on big changes in your life,
Hmm.
through puberty and all of that. And so, what is the impact when you are not you don't have that male role model? And I'm so aware that there's lots of people watching who may have lost their father figure through other reasons. My own daughter experienced that when I went through divorce when she was 14. So a very similar experience, although she was a couple of years older. Um, and so I think, where my starting point is, this conversation is how, is understanding, recognizing that first and foremost, we were wounded.
Hmm.
We experienced trauma. Now, um, I'm how many years ago? 50 years ago for me. Um, counseling wasn't really a thing. Nobody thought, oh, I wonder how that's going to affect this child. And nowadays, I think that is much more accepted, that this is a trauma. How can we support this child? So I went 30 years before I even understood or acknowledged that that event in my life was impacting every decision, every choice, everything that happened to me was seen through this filter.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'd like to talk a little bit into that. When we experience trauma, and if you do get my book, which I'm so honored that people are going out there and reading my story because of the medicine it holds, and so it's right at the beginning. It's chapter 2, and the chapter is actually titled, it was when we lived in Chester, and it is talking about my world is shattered. Here's the excuse the yellow post-its, but there's bits in there that I wanted to be able to find. It's my world is shattered, and it felt like that. Nothing was going to be the same again. And at my 10-year-old self understood that bit, that this was pivotal. Nothing was going to be the same again. Right. And what happens when we experience that trauma is we lock that emotion into our system, and it becomes a wounded story. And for me, that pivotal moment resulted in 3 filters that I then applied to the rest of my life, because this was what happened. And the first one, bizarrely, and it came directly from my dad, who used to say to me, "We've got to keep mummy happy," because I was a good child, but I was a bit, untidy, and I'd leave this trail of devastation through the house when whatever I was playing with, and as I love being in the garden, that spread from my bedroom down the stairs out of the garden, and around the apple tree and back again. And Daddy would say, "You need to tidy up. We've got to keep mummy happy." And that became part of the wound, because now it was I was responsible for keeping my mum happy. How on earth could a 10-year-old keep her mother happy when her mum had just, she just lost her life partner, and you go, I can look back and say, oh my goodness, I took that on. Nobody asked me to, but it's these things that are said that become this window that we see everything. I like to think that a pair of glasses. I've now got a pair of glasses that says, you're responsible not just for my mum, for everybody around me, because that just sort of expanded. The other one was, it's always my fault, because I was an only child. It had to be my fault. This terrible thing had happened, and it must be my fault because I was an only child. It was always my fault, If I'd left something out, it was my fault because I was on my own. So that then distorts the picture. My nana also died very shortly afterwards, and so the people you love most will leave you. That becomes another story. And keep quiet, don't make a fuss, don't be noticed was very much, if I stay out the way, if I don't get in the way, I won't upset mummy. And so I mustn't make a fuss. I've now got to be this incredibly good girl who does well at school and all of this, to try and prove something, and so that mummy doesn't get upset. And you go, oh my goodness, I mean, this took some unpacking to start to see this. I keep going to my glasses because that's how it was. I now saw the entire world through these glasses, which are skewed. But we all develop filters. So in my book, I invite people to say, we all have pivotal moments. And what therefore are the beliefs that become filters that you see your world through. But to come back to, that's a sort of, the overview, your deepest wound holds your greatest medicine. There was my deepest wound. But how does that become medicine? So what happened as well was, here I am, 10 years old, bit of a tomboy, climbing up the apple trees, and doing the, I wanted to camp outside and, and all of the things. When I lost my dad, I severed the connection with my masculine. And a really interesting, how did I discover that? As a child, we had a pond in our garden, and I used to quake the frogs out, and I wasn't very kind to the frogs, but we used to have little frog races and then put them back in the pond. I had no problem with frogs, and I realized that as an adult, my kids will say, oh, but mum doesn't, they absolutely make my flesh crawl. We go, oh, like that. You got a thing. Everybody's got a thing that makes them go like that. And I suddenly before my dad died, I didn't have a problem with frogs. And so I realized I had left this part, I'd severed this, the male connection was too painful. And I get the chills even now talking about this, that no, I didn't want to have anything to do with that because it was too painful. And there will be women listening who have experienced that disconnection for whatever reason with their inner masculine.
Yeah.
So, how does that affect me? How does that affect me when I go to school and I was the only girl in my class who didn't have a dad? Nowadays, I think, there are lots of young women growing up without a father or a strong male father figure.
Which is sad, but yeah.
So, and it's something that as I've been reflecting on this and doing a lot of creative work, because that's how I draw out these emotions, and I get to look at them in a safe place. I was jealous of my school friends because their dads came to open day and sports day and prize day, and I didn't have that, and there was a real interesting, oh my goodness, I was jealous of them, so that affects your relationships with other women. Father's Day, very difficult.
Oh yeah, and I want to interrupt you for a minute.
Yeah, you do go.
So what I find very interesting in the healing and just discovering the things that we were really dealing with and not knowing then, is that I remember me and my father used to go fishing, and I loved to go fishing, and it was just our thing. We would go, he had the real fishing, the fishing thing, and I had the bamboo stick, and I could get my own worm and put my own worm on, and I knew how to do all of this. And so when he passed away, and we had many good just me and him moments, that made me feel special as a little girl, because it's something that a father does to a little girl's self-esteem that a mother just doesn't have the ability to do. She doesn't have that in her. And so it's something that a dad would draw out of the little girl that makes her feel she's strong, she can do it. There's nothing that you have to be afraid of. And if it is something that you feel afraid of, he has, he's the solution to it. So you would go running to dad, or daddy, or I call my dad Papa. So I would go running to Papa and say, Papa, this is what happened. And so he had the ability to just make me feel safe, and even he would say things to me, because I was a tomboy as well. And so the frogs and saying, look, Papa, what I got in my hand, and lightning bugs and things of that nature. And then there were times where he would say, okay, you have to not be so rough. It's time to be a little girl, but it was that reassurance of, you can just be who you want to be, who you, whatever it is you're feeling today, it's all right to be. and so once he passed away, that feeling, that insecurity really
Mm.
stepped in. That
Mm.
unsure, because here it is, we're hitting puberty now, and so
Yeah.
all those hormones, and it was like, who am I? Where do I belong? You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
I do have to walk around and be quiet, and I can remember my father growing up. He always said, "You only get one parent. You get one mother. You get one father. You have to respect them." And so, of course, going and knowing that in the back of my mind, so now he's gone. If my mother tried today, it was no way. You're not my dad. You cannot ever take this place. And so it was many things that, when you talk about lenses and your focal
Mm.
point, and how you are looking at things,
Yeah.
um, I just missed out on a lot because I did go to counseling, and my counselor was horrible. She was horrible. She was
Oh.
horrible, and very bad, I mean, such a very bad experience. But I
Yeah.
also felt the need that I needed to take care. What do I need to do to make this situation better?
Yeah.
What do I need to do? Developing walls and things of that nature so that nobody could get in, because the hurt
Oh,
that I felt
wow.
was
Yeah.
like, I don't want anybody to get close to me, because I've
Mm.
never felt a hurt like that before. I mean, so bad that I couldn't even visit the grave site. My mother would say, "Do you want?" And I have older siblings, and I can remember them taking me with them, and I'm sitting cringe and anxiety all on the inside and trying to hold my tears in, because I'm like, I don't want to go, because it kept triggering those moments of
Yeah.
the long car ride to the funeral, to the church, and then the long car ride to the grave site, and it was like reliving it all over again.
Mm.
So I
Mm.
had said I will never feel this type of pain anymore. So that was one of the walls on many other
Yeah.
walls, but that I had built up. And I said, I would never allow myself to feel this anymore. So it was almost like I just shut off a part of some emotions in me.
Mm.
I didn't
Yeah.
let people
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
close, men, and none of that, because I just couldn't allow myself to go through that again.
Yeah. 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 And as you're talking there, that sense of, we talk about the fact that we have lost our inner masculine, so that sense of safety, we then go, well, no, I'm just gonna, and it's interesting that you bring up the analogy of a wall, because that was absolutely how I would put up this brick wall,
Mm-hmm.
and so nobody's coming through here, because you are gonna, and especially boyfriends, because
Mm-hmm.
after that initial, oh yeah, oh, and I didn't understand, I misread signals, I was desperate for affection,
Yes.
for admiration,
Mm-hmm.
but then you go, no, this is not safe, and oh, so up comes the brick wall. And yeah, that's an interesting conversation that's just reminded me. um but it's that we then don't know how to be strong in ourselves, so that we
Mm-hmm.
resist that strength, because it's not an energy that we know how to connect with.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's, I mean, I would say to anybody watching this, if any of this is resonating for you, the best thing that you can do for yourself is to start to explore, to heal the relationship with your masculine. It's not
Mm-hmm.
about healing the relationship with a father
Mm-hmm.
that isn't there anymore for whatever reason, or even anybody experience abuse. Actually, the the male that you get to connect with is yours, is
Mm-hmm.
your masculine, and that's where the transformation can happen.
Mm-hmm.
um and another point you mentioned was this, your dad gave you your self-worth, whereas our mums give us the nurturing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the perfect mother father figure are there for. And of course, for a mum especially, I think about my mum having gone through that, intense, very, very sudden bereavement, she was in no place to initially to be strong. She wasn't, she wasn't the strong, she was the nurturing one.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's that, what effect does that have on the relationship between her and me? Because suddenly she was doing, and you go, no, and nothing felt right. Nothing felt right
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's
for a
like
long time.
it's like your foundation. You're now on
Yes.
slippery ground. Sinking sand seems to be around you, because I think that's very interesting too, because the mothers, they have lost a sense of their identity as well, because
Yes.
this is who they have grown to become. Two, the Bible says the two now becomes one. So what
Mm,
happens when the one of them passes away?
yeah.
Or
Yeah.
what happens, because now she's having to try to refine who she is, and
Mm,
now not just who she is, but now a single mom. How do I do this? How can I go on? She's and then we as children are looking for them to be able to come and still nurture, because we don't understand
yeah.
what they're doing, what they're going through. We just know
Yeah.
that we're hurting, and we need them, but at the same time they need us now. And it's funny how
Yeah.
that works. Now
Yeah.
is parents is I can never pronounce it correctly, excuse me, but it's where the child reverts to the parent, turns into the parent, and the parent turns into the
Mm,
child. Parent, um I'm gonna put it up in the link for everybody so you can get it, because I'm gonna pronounce the word wrong. But that's what happens, is the roles are
yeah.
now reversed.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
and the child has to grow up sooner or
Mm,
faster,
yeah.
just because of that. And that's something
Mm,
that causes another trauma, actually, within the
yeah.
child's life. So you experience the trauma of losing, and now you experience the trauma of now having to be actually older, or act, or step into a role that should be for someone older, your parent.
Mm,
That's your role now.
yeah. 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 Yes, it's that, and there's that sense of, not only have you lost a parent, you've actually
Hmm.
lost some childhood. You've suddenly gone, you've sort of been catapulted into
Hmm.
this, or now I've got to be an adult.
Hmm.
And I think, when I've done work around, the parent child adult relationship,
Hmm.
and I can look back and go, no wonder I no wonder I
Right.
found all that a challenge, because you go, I didn't know whether I was a child, whether I was having to be an adult, whether I
Hmm.
was having to be a parent. And you
Hmm.
go, I can look back and
Hmm.
say, gosh, yes, that now I see. And I think that's why we do the work. And the interesting, your counseling experience. i
Hmm.
um I had a couple of experiences of counseling, which I felt, I actually I was very good at lying to myself and anybody around me, to
Hmm.
say I am absolutely fine. How did you cope with your father's death? Oh, absolutely fine,
Oh
no
yeah.
problem whatsoever. And
Hmm.
my mum and I got on really well. And of course, eventually it got to the point where I went, well, no, Celia, you can't just keep pushing this down and down and down.
Hmm. Because it's gonna come up eventually.
And eventually, when we are in a place when we are ready to do the work, that's when we see the transformation. That you can't force feed anybody. And I think that's the one of my challenges is, I can see people in situations, and I go, gosh, they would really benefit from working with, whatever modality it is.
Hmm.
I do a lot of creative work, I do a lot of energy work, but you have to be ready. You have to
Hmm.
say, I do, in Garden Party, I talk about the start of the journey, and it's where am I now? Do I want to be here, or do I want to be somewhere else? And if you are not, if you're ready to be in a different place,
Hmm.
that's when we can do the work of transformation.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times, and I want to, because I hate when I can't think of the word. So it's called parentification. For everybody that's out there, if you look it up, you will find it's when parents rely on the children to give them
Oh,
there
okay.
to help nurture them. But so
Yeah.
in a lot of my work, what I have found is that sometimes people need permission. People need to be given the permission to
Yeah.
get out of this slump and to begin their healing. Because we live in such a society where showing weakness is
Mm,
like, you're
mm,
like, what they call the council, they want to counsel everybody. And so, because people have made it thus far in their life, to leadership roles, to show any sign of weakness would they makes them feel like, okay, people are going to think I'm not qualified to be where I'm at. But
yeah.
indeed, it's because of the things that you have been through qualifies you to be there. And if you can show that you are human and that you've been through things, it's going to
Mm,
help other people
yeah.
and intensify the role that you're playing, or the role that you're in, the position that you're in life right now, because there are other people who need permission as well. So when they see you doing it, it gives them permission to say, I'm
Yeah.
hurting too. I'm
Yeah.
hurting too.
Yeah. And yes, it's interesting, isn't it, how and this whole conversation is about the whole masculine feminine thing, that actually that I'm seeing a shift in that, you know, men are allowed to say, to express their nurturing feminine side.
Mm-hmm.
There is that permission piece coming in, and I love that you mentioned, because in I mean, you haven't got the book there. The things that come up between you and I, these
I know.
synchronicities, are just like little golden nuggets,
Uh-huh.
because you will see that there you have
Wow, permission.
a permission slip,
Yeah.
and and but what I always say is, I mean, the permission slip says, I declare I have permission to be my authentic, rebellious, quirky self, and I
Mm-hmm.
declare I am ready to reawaken to my soul's purpose.
Yes.
And the key thing there is that I give myself permission.
Mm-hmm.
You witness, you know and we support and cheer on. We are the cheerleaders for
Yes.
anybody that says, yeah, I'm ready, I'm ready,
Mm-hmm.
I want to be in a different place.
Mm-hmm.
um but this, going back, I was thinking this, and you haven't got the book yet, and you know what's in it. It's just beautiful. It was that, I think, as a society, as a global community,
Mm-hmm.
we are seeing more and more the the feminine and the masculine working in unity,
Mm-hmm.
rather than, I mean, I think it's going to, we're not there yet, but
Yeah.
it's, it is coming,
Mm-hmm.
um to sort of, for the whole of humanity, is just, I don't even have the language for this sense yet, but it's, you see it, I see it in, I mean, my husband is, I mean, he always says, oh, he's a real softie. Well, he is. He cries at the craziest films, and I, when we first met, um and he was very embarrassed if he
Mm-hmm.
sort of ended up in bits over Top Gun, for example, as
Yeah.
one of the films that makes him cry. um but I would say it's wonderful, how beautiful that you, as the provider for your family,
Mm-hmm.
and this strong masculine figure, can also be in touch with your feminine side.
Mm-hmm.
um so yeah, it's and I think that's probably why he and I sort of connect, because
Yeah.
I give him permission
Mm-hmm.
to,
To be.
as if sometimes we're watching a film, and I'll suddenly be where it's gone really quiet, and sort of glance at, and I'm passing the tissues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's funny. But when you think about something, what's wrong with being compassionate? Why
Yes.
we all, why is it that we all just can't be compassionate? If I see something, even if it's a film, even if it's, fiction, why can't I be moved with compassion or
Yeah.
sympathy or
Yeah.
empathy, and I can
Yeah.
feel a scene that is sad, someone's losing
Mm,
something, or someone going through something that is horrible. Why can't I be moved with, man, can you
yeah,
imagine?
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, and
And it,
if we all move like that, male and female, we would
mm,
live in such a better world, because we could see one another being hurt, and instead of just conforming to these roles, you know, passing by people, versus, oh man, do
yeah,
you need some
yeah,
help?
yeah.
Or, you know,
Yeah, and it's that, we operate from a place of love
hmm
rather than from fear. And of course, returning to our trauma story, of course, we all drop into that that place of fear because we don't feel safe for whatever reason. When you have experienced that trauma, I mean, we're specifically talking about loss of a father figure, but I think it applies to whatever trauma it is you have experienced in
yeah,
your life. Actually, what happens is you then don't feel safe.
don't feel safe. And then I think too, because when you lose, I know for me, when I lost my father, the rejection set in. And so
Rejection by your father, or
I just felt rejected, period, because it wasn't fair. You didn't tell me you were leaving. You just left. You didn't
yes,
prepare
oh
me for this. And so, because the fear of rejection came, it's hard for me. I might feel compassionate, but I don't want you to reject me.
yes, you
So
left me.
you left me, right? So it's like that rejection,
Mm,
the spirit of rejection. It's just, and it embodies so much more. But if you
mm,
get to the root cause, that's just like you plant a mixture of flowers, right? And it's
yeah,
tulips. It might be tulips. It might be all different kinds of flowers. But but they all have a root. But always is this mixture of flowers. But the root is rejection. So rejection came from the loss of my father, which now springs up all these different flowers, because it's just stems. Rejection just inhabits every area of your life.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Which becomes one of your beliefs and your filters that you see. Yeah.
Mm,
And it's that um, that sudden loss. I mean, I one of my favorite quotes. Again, I don't wave my book because
yeah.
everything you talk about, I go, oh yeah, there's a page about that. Is that lovely quote by J.K. Rowling, and um, if you're a Harry Potter, I don't know if you're a Harry Potter, I'm a bit
My
of a
daughter is.
Harry Potter fan. The ones who love us never really leave us. You can always find them in here. And there is that, when we come to our loss and our all of those that trauma through from a place from our heart space, then we can begin to understand. I think it's, for years I was trying to come at it from my head. I went, have
Mm-hmm.
I coped with my father's death? Oh yes, I have. And you
Mm-hmm.
go, when eventually, I acknowledge that, yeah, I was really angry with my dad for leaving me.
Mm-hmm.
That was an interesting emotion, and it's these emotions that that sort of then something will happen, and your resentment and that will pop up somewhere else. I
Mm-hmm.
love your analogy of those bulbs that are,
Mm-hmm.
you go, I've still got the same root.
Right, right. And it's like you can chop it
Yeah,
down, it's gonna come right back up
yeah,
because you
yeah.
haven't dug it up. What I love too is that you when you were talking, and it made me think about um when you're on your healing journey, and you at first, you're kind of up here in your head, but then when
Mm,
you really sit with it within your heart. What I love to tell my clients is that you need to cry, because when you sit within it, it is gonna hurt at first.
yeah,
Because before I can sit in the good memories, I always will cry. I
yeah,
cried
yeah,
over the
yeah,
memories before I could laugh. So I would
yes,
cry
yeah,
first. And then,
yeah,
like I always say, I hate the people who come, you're crying, and they come bring you tissue. And so when I used to do in-person counseling, I would tell them the tissue box is going to be with me. I would give it to you when I think you're ready for the tissue, because that's making you stop crying when I hand you a tissue. And so,
yeah,
time the tissue come
yeah,
out, people think I
yeah,
gotta stop. And so, let it out, so that
yeah,
then you can experience what's underneath all of that, which is the joy of the time you spent, the good
mm,
memories. I can sit and laugh and smile when I talk about how we would go fishing, or how we
yeah.
would go buy lottery tickets. Oh, so I get to skip church today to go buy lottery tickets. And he drove trucks, and so I get to skip school to go ride with him up the coast of North Carolina and visit the coastline, and that would be a historic. Back then you could um write a note saying it's a history lesson, or and it would be excused. And so, those are good memories.
Yes,
Before
yeah,
it would bring tears, because it's like,
yeah,
but now I can laugh and I can
yeah,
tell other people about it. But you got to get to the place where you cry.
yeah, yeah. And I think, I mean, as I say, when I do a lot, I do a lot of energy work, and the healing starts in our emotional body, which is sort of sitting somewhere around here. And when we heal our emotional body, so the crying, and I love that. I tell my husband, next time he cries, he's not getting any tissues. It's not, it starts in here, and and it starts in our head, but actually we need to let it go all the way out to our emotional body, really connect with our emotions,
Hmm.
and clear that painful part, so that we can then allow that, that almost blocks us, isn't it? Because we keep pushing out to here, then we don't have that clear connection,
Hmm.
and we don't receive the love, we don't receive the joy, and
And
we
we
don't
don't.
know how to experience that.
You're right, and we can't experience what you said about them always, that the quote, because the quote says they never leave us.
Mm.
But how can I really experience that presence if I can't get past this crying?
Yes, yes,
How
yeah,
can I really
yeah.
be aware of it? And then
Mm.
how can I really, and it blocks so much. I mean, I'm
Mm.
just sitting here and I'm listening, and I'm talking out loud, but how it blocks so much when we don't let it go. When I say let
Mm.
it go, just the emotions, that sadness, that thing that will hold you hostage and keep you in depression. So sometimes people are wondering, why am I depressed during this time of the year? What? Because you are still holding on as residual um feelings and emotions that you still hold on to in your
Mm.
subconscious.
Yeah, yeah.
You find people. I remember when December would come, because both my parents happened to have passed in December. So December would come, and I would be real cranky. And my kids, I remember my daughter said one day, she was like, "Mom, why are you being so nasty?" And I'm like, "I'm not being nasty."
Yes, yeah.
you know,
It's, yeah. I'm not being nasty. I'm just really sad, but I don't know
right.
how to express that.
Don't know how to express it. Yeah. And then cooking, trying to cook in the kitchen, and tears, and it's like, why am I crying? I don't know. And then it clicked and dawned on me one day. Guess what's coming up in a couple of days? And
Yeah,
then after that, a couple of days is the anniversary of your mom. And it was like,
yeah,
so I
yeah.
had to really go and sit in my room, I call my prayer room, and sit and cry
Mm,
and
mm,
cry and say verbally, not in my mind, but say out loud, I am angry.
yeah, yeah.
I'm angry. I'm mad. I'm
Mhm,
disappointed. You
mhm,
know, and really say it,
mm.
and know that there was nothing that I felt and that God didn't already know. He's just like, whenever you're ready to let it go, just let me know, because I have
Yeah,
this bottle that I keep, and that I'm gonna, bottle your tears up. Just let it go, so
yeah,
I can
yeah,
do my job. I just need you to
Yes.
do yours,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
when then all of this negative stuff can leave me, and
Mm,
I can
mm,
feel the
mm,
freedom.
mm. It's a really interesting. I'm going to offer you
Okay.
a little medicine bottle.
Uh-huh.
Um, so I think, it's step one is really acknowledging those emotions that we are feeling, that
Mhm.
it's, oh, I can name it, and it's anger,
Mhm.
it's sadness, it's grief, it's that. So the invitation is, rather than, us saying, oh, I'm really angry, because what happens is then we embody that emotion.
Mhm.
So and then you would maybe, I would say, oh, I'm feeling very angry, and you go, well, okay, that's less of an embodiment, but it still feels very close. So the invitation is to use these words, this language around that emotion, is, I'm experiencing anger.
It's good.
I'm experiencing real anger. I'm experiencing jealousy. I'm experiencing, um, fill in the emotion
Mhm.
of your choice. And what that allows us to do is come at that experience with curiosity.
Mhm.
And then you'd say, oh, I'm experiencing real the weekend I was experiencing critical parent quite a lot. And it allowed me to say, that's really interesting. I wonder why I'm experiencing this.
Mhm.
And then with that curiosity, we can then begin to sort of unpick that. Or we can say, oh, I'm experiencing sadness. And you go, yeah, and that's okay.
Mhm.
But we don't lock it into our system in the
Yeah,
same way.
that's good.
Um, I found that how we use language around our experiences is just so powerful.
It is.
And as soon as we start observing ourselves in the language and the words that we're using,
Mhm.
even in joke, I don't know if this resonates. Sometimes, we'll do something and you go, oh, I'm such an idiot. I'm
Oh
such an,
yes.
and you go, no, you're not. No, you're not. You've just done something that's a bit
Mhm.
crazy,
Mhm.
but that doesn't mean I am not. Yeah, I am not that thing.
Right.
Um, and it's I always come with a warning, health alert, because once you start on this journey of watching your I
Yeah.
mean, my joke, my phrase is, mind your language.
Mhm.
Actually, it's, what am I saying out loud that carries this frequency,
Yeah.
that then that's actually impacting on how I am being and
That's
experiencing the world.
And I think that is really good. I'm glad you gave me that reminder, because it is good, because words are so powerful, and how
Mm.
we use them, it really does frame our world. It really
Yeah,
does. And so if
yeah.
you walk around, because you are, like you said, experiencing a time of I'm experiencing one of the things people, especially during COVID and job loss and things like this, is that I'm experiencing, instead of saying that I am broke, you're just experiencing some financial difficulties, but that's
Yeah.
not who you are. It's just
Yes.
what you're experiencing.
Yeah.
And stop
Yes. Yeah.
labeling yourself as that,
Mm,
because that's what it's
mm,
doing. You're putting a label, and you're now identifying. It's this book, and I know we're talking about trauma, but I think the viewers pretty much know me by now. Oh, I don't have it by me. They know I try to. It's a book I've been reading, because dealing with the subconscious and the conscious, and
yeah.
taking all this stuff. What are you attached to?
Mm,
And recognizing that we are attached to things, people, places, and it begins to form who we are. And so
mm,
we can't move forward, because we are living off of labels. That's not us.
yeah. Yeah. And I think sort of just, recognizing the brilliant job that our brain is doing, because that's absolutely what it's trying to do. It's trying to, we see something, and we attach labels, and we go, oh, that's a drum, that's a whatever, that's a flower, and you go, that's actually very, very supportive, most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But it then, our subconscious sort of gets carried away and starts labeling everything, and you go, no, no, I don't need that label,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
But it's our it's like the voice of our inner critic, the voice of fear is
Mm-hmm.
absolutely there to stop us running out into the middle of the road and reminding us that's not a safe thing to do. The fear is there to keep us safe.
Mm-hmm.
um and it's when that gets a little bit, the voice is too loud,
Yes.
that then we're not able to move forward in the way that we are, with our sole purpose of what we want to do.
And
um you know
and it really goes back to, because we're talking about the loss of our dads. It really can
mm,
start right there.
yes,
And
yeah.
that's like, okay,
Mhm.
I got them now, and now you're gonna be hindered, and it's like this invisible force is trying to hinder us
Mm,
from being and living out our soul's purpose in
mm,
life,
yeah.
because we are attached to our father. We were attached to our father. How can you not be?
Mm, yeah.
How can you not be? That was my father. That's who loved me. That's the one who protected me. And because if we don't have other people that are around us who can actually help us, like now, thank God for, you know, your book, and thank God for, other materials that are out here now that can help us. But
Yeah.
if we would have had this when we were younger, I wonder where would we be?
Yeah, absolutely. And I see, I see my daughter several years ahead of where I was in,
Hmm.
that situation. And I see my grandchildren who are very much more aware than I ever was, of understanding their emotions and experiencing their emotions, and that and acceptance of who they are and who they want to be. And you go, wonderful. That is, brilliant
Yeah.
that they have this, and I think we are, that humanity is evolving like that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I do
it's
too. I do
beautiful.
too. Yeah, it's very beautiful. But I know that the ladies, the women that have listened, I believe that they have been able to glean so much from just this, because I know I have, because it's made me really sit back and think again how where I was, and how
Yeah.
um I had to really do the self work and heal.
Mm,
And
yeah.
I know that many are on here that are still in need to do the self work. And the garden party, by my friend, Cecilia, will be wonderful for everybody. Because
Thank
um,
you.
there are so many people who don't even know where to start.
Yeah, yeah,
I love the Lord, but I still needed material to show me, and to pave the way, just like we need doctors. We need one
yeah,
another. How did you do it? And perhaps I can
mm,
take this outline and apply
yeah,
it to my own life. And so, it's no need for you to continue to sit there and live a life where you are stuck, when you can get the healing that you need. Again, you can go tell everybody again how to get to your website.
okay. So, and I just want to add on to that it doesn't matter where you are on the garden path, as it were. Brianna and I have wandered down a lot of garden paths in our time,
Hmm.
but the really important thing for you is to say, well, what's my next step? And my invitation to you for your next step is to go to my website, celiabarsby.com. There's only one Celia Barsby apparently in the whole world. So, so celiabarsby.com. Brianna will put all the links, and book yourself in for what I call a discovery call. Really, that is literally come and have a cup of tea, or cup of water in my case, because I'm drinking lots of water today. Come and let's sit down and have a chat, and see where you are on your garden path. I would love to hear your journey, and to see whether that's something that we can explore together.
Good job. I am excited. I'm excited for those who are watching, and I'm just excited about what this will bring out. I love to see women be healed and set free, and just experience freedom, because we don't know we're in bondage a lot of time until we get to a place of freedom, and then we're like, look. I
That's
didn't
silly.
know what it was to truly be free. So again, we thank you for joining us. Please, please, please join us. We have some wonderful things going on, and so we can be found various locations here. Please share um, this with everybody that you know, every woman that you believe is in need of this, and so and get the word out there. Again, thank you for joining us. I love you, and I love everybody that is on here. And we will see you soon.
Bye. Thank you.